guys, Tia here, your local favorite realtor. And today we're here at Martin's Cantina interviewing the owner, Mr. Christian Martin. We're doing a business owner spotlight, so we wanted to highlight some owners doing great things here in the community and have him share some insight with us. So take a listen. So let's dive into Mr. Christian Martin.
All right.
Inglewood native.
That's right.
Born and raised. Did you go to school here?
So we grew up. So my parents met in Santa Monica. That's kind of where the story started.
Okay.
So when my parents migrated here from Mexico, they
What part of Mexico?
From my mom's from Michoacan and my dad's from Guadalajara.
Oh wow. Okay.
So my dad came at like 14 years old, and my mom was about 9 years old when she came. And they landed in Santa Monica. That's the first spot where they came. And my dad was the 9 brothers and sisters. He came with his dad. Yeah, he came with his dad alone, and everybody else stayed in Mexico.
Okay. He was the oldest? Or?
He was the second oldest.
Okay.
But the closest to my grandfather.
Okay.
They worked together, and I think my grandfather just felt a really good bond with him. And so the two of them came over here to kind of check out what's happening. And so once they got here, they went to Santa Monica. They started a produce business. So they would go to downtown and buy produce and kind of resell it in a what I call like an modern day Amazon. So I have pictures of my dad when he was like 16 years old. Outside of people's homes. So what he would do, and what we grew up doing, because as little as I can remember, we would accompany him in this van, and we would go to apartment complexes, and a lot of these were like Latino apartment complexes. We would stop, and people would give us their order. So my job was to walk up with tortillas, which was the catch, right? And knock on doors and say tortillas. And then the ladies or the gentlemen would open the door and they'd say, "Oh, your dad's there?" Give them this list. And I'd run down there. I'd get all the groceries. So everything from milk and cheese and tomatoes and everything you can imagine of like your essentials. I would bag up, and then I would go back upstairs, and then I would, turn in the groceries, get the money.
Wow.
And not just me, my brothers would do it too, my older brother, and then my mom would man a store that we had on 14th and Pico. So when they first met in the 70s, they got married, they opened up a store, and then they bought their house in Inglewood because it was obviously cheaper to have a home here, but it was also kind of central. My dad can get to downtown to stock up his produce, and then he can get to Santa Monica for the store. So because we were born into like a grocery store in Santa Monica, a block away from our elementary school, my mom just figured it'd be better for her to kind of get us out after school to pick us up and watch us at a school in Santa Monica. So we didn't go to school in Inglewood, we went to school in Santa Monica. Because my parents had that business there. But once we would close the store, we would commute back to Inglewood, and that was our routine every day. So kind of fast forward, into something that is so important because it gave me 2 different perspectives, right? Going into Santa Monica at that time, it was like, I don't know what it is now, but it was like 75%, Caucasian people in the school system and 30% other, like everybody else. And so my point is that when I would go to school there, elementary and junior high, I saw certain things that when I would come back here for like my boxing classes at Rogers Park or skateboarding here on the weekends or hanging out with my friends and my neighbors here, things just look different, and it kind of gave me a lot of perspective into some things we'll talk about in the future about why does this look, why is Santa Monica is looking from so much different from the area that I'm living in, but I'm glad it happened that way and it allowed for a lot of things to kind of happen. But
so gave you some vision.
Gave you some vision, exactly. So we went to school in Santa Monica, and then but like I said, I was born and raised here in Inglewood. My dad bought his house in, I believe it was 79 or 80 when bought his house on Fairview Boulevard, and that's where we grew up, and we still have the home. So it's 5 siblings total, but it was 4 siblings for 17 years.
Oh wow!
So
then they had the bonus baby.
They had the bonus baby. When my brother was a senior in high school, and when my parents were talking about that they're done, they're gonna travel, and this is before the restaurants. This is just kind of like, hey, we're done with kids. We're gonna go out. My brother had just gotten married, and I like to share the story because it's funny, but my brother had just gotten married, and we were like, hey, so when's the baby? The pressure was on him. When's the baby? Where's the baby? And my sister-in-law jokingly tells my mom, because my mom's pressuring her, where's the baby, where's the baby? And my sister-in-law tells me, well, I'll do a pregnancy test if you do a pregnancy test. And my mom was like, sure, no problem, let's do it. Because you look pregnant. My mom's joking, you look pregnant. So they go get the pregnancy test and they come out and they're like, Anna, my wife, my sister-in-law, negative. Gloria Martin, positive. She can't. She was like 40 something at the time, and she could not believe it. And she started crying and
tears of joy,
tears of like fear, and shock, and like joy and everything. I think all at once because the baby 17 years ago had been a very traumatic experience for her. It got to a point where it was like you were the baby type situation. So I mean, in fact, they had told her you probably will not have another baby ever again. So when she found out 17 years later, she just went back to her last pregnancy and said, God, what's gonna happen? With this baby. So she was very worried, and obviously in your 40s, they say there's a lot of risks, with having a baby. So, nonetheless, we went through it, and she called him Angel because she feels he's an angel, and so that added the fifth addition to the family. So now he's 17.
Wow.
He's now 17 years old, and
now they can go off and travel.
Yeah, right. And they say that, but then we end up buying more restaurants and keeping them very busy. But that's very much the plan, is to get them to get out, and they've worked so much and they've set such a great foundation for us and a tremendous example that I think as children now we just want to give back to them and go out and travel and do that, and so we try to get them away as much as we can. So.